By the way, coincidence or not, this just happens to be Embakasi Member of Parliament, Embakasi East Member of Parliament Babu Owino's birthday. Happy birthday, man. Thank you. And yesterday just happened to be Uganda's Independence Day. And here we are with public enemy or government enemy number one, opposition Member of Parliament Bobi Wine, who, my goodness, you have been through hell. You have been through hell. Describe to us when they descended on you that time, and it looks like they were going to kill you.
Yeah, the plan was to kill me. And I had just left the seat of the car I was in less than 3 minutes when my driver sat there and he was shot dead. So I'm convinced that it was a plan to assassinate me, but God was above all, and I survived. But again, I feel humbled when I see the world looking at my plight and my brutalization, and yet hundreds, if not thousands, of Ugandans have gone through the same or even worse. Yeah. And even when I was arrested, it was the 33 of us. So many people were beaten badly. Maybe God used me to highlight the plight of Ugandans that are being continuously brutalized. So yes, I was attacked terribly after the murder of my driver. I ran to the hotel, and hotel room doors were broken all night until they finally got to me, descended on me, and I don't want to recount that, but it was terrible. Yeah.
And then you tried to leave the country to seek further medical treatment, and they stopped you at Entebbe.
Yeah. They stopped me, arrested me, tortured me some more.
Again, more?
Yeah, and locked me in a hospital only to let me go hours later with no charge.
Bobby, what do they tell you? What are the authorities telling you? That you're a thorn in the side of Museveni? That you're a nuisance? What are they telling you?
Well, it's disturbing because the authorities don't explain a thing. When I was arrested in the first place, they paraded guns, and the government of Uganda claimed that machine guns and ammunition were found in my hotel room. And that's the explanation for holding me in military incarceration. But later on, the same government withdrew charges and the guns disappeared with no explanation. That is the government of Uganda, only to rearrest me later and charge me with treason. I won't talk about that because the case is still in court. But I believe this is a move to intimidate me and to intimidate anybody else that is inspired by my quest for freedom. You know.
Babu, does this remind you of Kenya in the early 90s? Does that have...
Actually, Jeff, it's a sad thing to see a youth trying to make it in life, and then the old try to suppress the same youth. I believe that in the olden days, such things that Bobi is explaining only happened here in Kenya in the olden days. And the most recent one was when I was also arrested and tortured the same way. And I think these people should know that we are not fighting them as the people. We are fighting the system that was put in place that is not providing employment opportunities for the youths, the system that is not providing democracy in the society, the system that is rotten. We are not against anybody. We are just trying to find our space as the youths. We need to be included. Inclusivity is very important. And in Building Bridges initiative, one of the pillars of that is inclusivity. Not just tribal inclusivity, ethnic inclusivity, but youths are fighting for the space to be included in the system. At least when women are fighting for their space, they're always told that there's nothing wrong with it. In fact, there's too much support with it. What about the youths? Then they'll be branded that these are people who are rebellious, these are people who don't want to do anything. Yet the youths form 70% of the global population. Here in Kenya, if a youth stands for presidency, he will win. In Uganda, likewise, youths are around 85%. Yeah. If they stand for presidency, they will win. Therefore, this idea of inclusivity, youths must be included for example, in these parastatals. A third should be youths. In principal secretaries, a third should be youths. Cabinet secretaries, ambassadors, appointments, a third should be youths. Now, Jeff, we're just fighting for our space. We have to be on the table. We want our seat on the table because you're either on the table or in the menu. And if you're in the menu, you are eaten. If you're on the table, you negotiate on behalf of your people, which is the youth population.
Yeah. Bobby, there are echoes of Zimbabwe happening in your country. Robert Mugabe in power for 37 years. Yoweri Museveni, 32 years and counting. You took the words right out of my mouth.
Counting.
Do you see the similarities here, and you think it's gonna end the same way?
I would be very glad if it ended better in our home. You see, our president, President Yoweri Museveni, was a prized revolutionary. This is the kind of guy I used to look up to. I continue to be inspired by his writings and the speeches he made when he was around my age. So this is somebody that was actually on the right course before he got consumed with, you know, the effects of absolute power. So what we desire to see is a president that will not be scared to live in his country after he relinquishes power. You know, that is what we want. So we don't want to continue being a laughing stock among nations like Zimbabwe was. You know, we want to talk to our president nicely, and yes, if he insists on being stubborn, we intend to push him nicely.
You still have a lot of respect for this man, don't you?
I do have a respect. I'm an African man and I respect age. But again, I'm an African man who is living in 2018, who knows that people are supposed to give their contribution in their prime days. President Museveni gave his best contribution in his youthful days. And it's my job to inspire other young people, like the Honorable Babu said it. We need to inspire fellow young people to believe that they can play a role, to know that it is in their prime when they can prepare for a country that will make life possible and better for them in their old days.
Yeah, you know, you say something interesting, that Museveni in his early days was the hero of the country, if not the region. What do you think went wrong?
Well, it has been said before that power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts, absolutely. I believe President Museveni is drunk on power. I believe he sees himself, he has been convinced by the people he keeps around him, you know, to believe that he's a god of sorts. You know, President Museveni used to surround himself with intelligent people, people he respected, people he listened to. But today, the majority of people that surround him are praise singers, and indeed family members and tribe members. And that has caused the death of our institutions and indeed the death of the leadership of our country.
If he was listening to you right now, and he probably is, what would you tell him?
I'll be brief. I'll tell him, Mr. President, be true to your words. Be true to the words that you said before the country and before the world in 1986. Live by your promises.
Babu, tell me about the young parliamentarians.
I think, Jeff, it's a very good opportunity that the people of Kenya decided to give young parliamentarians an opportunity to serve them. And you see, as things change within the electioneering period, probably in 2022, there will be more young members of parliament, young members of the county assemblies, even governors, senators, and probably, God willing, in future, even president will be a very young person, a youthful person. Now, as young parliamentarians, we are united than ever. We have different members of parliament across different divides from different political parties, different tribes, independent parties. We have Jubilee, NASA. They've come together with an agenda of fighting for the common interest of the common mwananchi. Jeff, I was raised in a very bad environment from the slums. And from that slums, I used to go even without food. I used to see my mom struggle. During that time, I always say that my mom was selling changa. I used to see policemen whip my mom. When I'm told by another person that they are sleeping hungry, I know what hunger is. When I'm told that they lack school fees, I know what lacking school fees means. And I would like the youth of this nation to get an opportunity for education, to get the same opportunities that I'm getting, to get an opportunity to join any college or any university, and later on help those people whom they left behind, the parents and the society. Jeff, as a young member of parliament, when I talk on my own behalf, I believe that by the time that I'm going to clear my term, I'm going to serve my constituents and Kenyans 100%, and there will be no doubt about it. And I believe And another advice to other young parliamentarians, that let us make use of this opportunity that has been given to us by Kenyans, that has been entrusted to us by Kenyan citizens to serve them. Let us not use it for sideshows. Let us not use it to make tribal speeches or to divide Kenyan citizens, but let us use it to unite Kenyans. But so far, so good.
Okay, Bobby, I want you to listen to this soundbite here. Monica, that soundbite you said you have, let's just take a listen real quick and we'll take it from there.
We advocate for people power, which indeed is our power. And to assert that no amount of brutality, no amount of repression is going to cow us down. We saw to ourselves that we shall insist on the fight for freedom. I'm always reminded that it's not about me. Maybe I happen to show up at a time when people wanted their freedom and they wanted it bad enough. So all this that is happening is just a reflection of what's been happening in society. It shows that my desire for liberty is as burning as the desire of the millions and millions of people in Uganda to be free.
And you say millions and millions of people there, Bobi Wine, but what's the message this government is sending to young people who are the majority, not only in Uganda but across Africa? Young people are the majority. What's the message they are sending in doing what they're doing to you?
Well, in my opinion, the government seems to be telling the young people that either shut up or die. And in response, the young people of Uganda seem to be saying, we want to either be free or die.
In this country, Bobby, and Babu will tell you, the internet is an active playground for a lot of young people. Active, where they voice all kinds of opinions, good, bad, negative, the works. Is it the same in Uganda?
Well, it's actually not the same. It used to seemingly be the same. I mean, the internet, not only in Kenya or Uganda, but all over Africa, is a platform of free expression. Particularly in Uganda, free expression has been curtailed over time. You will note that the government of Uganda enacted a law called the Public Order Management Act, which restricts more than 4 people coming together. Well, hundreds of people can come together and get drunk, government will be okay with it. But once 4 or 5 people come together to discuss the future of their nation, the police, the military police, and all security forces will come and clamp them and unleash brutality on them. So the internet was the last platform for Ugandans, especially the young Ugandans, to express themselves. But again, President Museveni, through his party, moved to curtail the internet. Unlike many parts of the world, social media was blocked in Uganda in a way of taxation. Now every Ugandan has to pay 200 shillings every day to access social media, on top of buying the MBs and the bundle and the data. So, and the president gave his reasons. He said social media is a platform for rumor mongering and trading, hatred, which I don't agree with. So you realize that unlike in Kenya, in Uganda, the internet is blocked.
Yeah.
Internet access is.
And those people who can't afford it obviously can't get on. So
on.
that cuts maybe half, maybe 2/3 of the youth.
Yeah, that cuts a lot of young people from that communication.
What about yourself, Bobby? Can you travel freely around Kampala? Are you free to move around?
Well, I'm not free to move around. The day I returned from America, I was arrested on the tarmac of the airport by the military and the police, and I was driven to my house. And every time I attempt to leave my house, I am followed by the military and the police. So that shows you the paranoia of
So what, they follow you? Let's say you're driving your car. They're ahead of you, behind you? Where are they?
Yeah, ahead and behind. And every time I come out, to say hi to people before you know the military and police have shown up and they are beating people already. Yeah.
Babu, I mean,
I think Bobi is not living in a country. Maybe then there's some fairness in Kenya, if I may say, because at least the way we are being handled here,
yeah.
Especially the only time that happens here in Kenya is during the electioneering period. But what is happening in Uganda is so inhuman. And President Museveni, we respect you personally as a young man. Babu Owino, I also respect you due to the fact that you became the president of Uganda. You are fighting oppression. You are the oppressed, and now you're becoming the oppressor. I would like to advise you as a young man that the future for the young men is still luminous. We need not to attack you. You just need to see things. We need not to remind you. The same way you had good intentions for Ugandans is the same way you should have good intentions now for the Ugandans that are existing. These people need change. Just give them that opportunity, because either way a time will come and you cannot stop an idea whose time has reached.
Yeah.
So by the end of the day, we as young people, we respect you as a president. Here in Kenya, I respect my president due to the fact that he's my president and he's also qualified to be my father, because I believe that I'm an age mate of probably their children. But by the end of the day, let them do the right thing for their people. A leader who is eating her own babies is not worth called a leader.
Yeah.
Yes.
Bobby, they used to call it the big man rule in Africa. You know, one-man dictatorship and not wanting to leave office.
Yeah.
Why do you think Museveni is so afraid to leave office? Is it the repercussions that he might be subjected or embarrassed or put on trial for things that happened in the past? Why do you think he's so worried?
Well, rather than delve into why President Museveni is not leaving power, I would rather look at why he should leave power. We don't need another big daddy. We don't need another strong man. We've put our trust in strong men right from the days of Idi Amin, and we've seen where they've gotten us. All we need is strong institutions that live beyond human greed, that live beyond human emotions, you know, institutions that are going to be respected. And that's the only way we're going to give opportunity to all the talented and people, the intelligent people with good ideas for our country. Unfortunately for President Museveni, he has a sense of entitlement. He always reminds us that he hunted his animal and wants to eat it. Jeff, this guy was having an interview with you, and he told you in your eyes that he's not working for anybody but for himself and his children and his children's children. But he forgets that according to the law, he is supposed to be our servant. He disrespected Ugandans by telling us bluntly that he's nobody's servant. And we as young people of Uganda, and indeed not just young people, but the people of Uganda, are here to remind him that he is supposed to be a servant of the people. We are not supposed to be fearing him. He is supposed to be fearing us. We don't like the situation where we fear to speak our mind because we will be beaten by the military. No, we want a situation when the president fears to disrespect citizens because he knows that we will move him away from that seat where he is and put a leader who we choose. And if that leader does not serve us according to how we want to be served, we can always remove him or her and put another leader. That's what democracy is all about.
But in the meantime, anyone who raises their head will get it chopped off. I mean, look at Kizza Besigye. Every time he raises it, and they were very good friends at one point, right?
Yeah.
They were mates. They were in the military together.
Yeah.
Now, every time he raises his head, he gets it chopped off. Now, a younger one is coming up, Bobi Wine. Now, you're getting harassed the same way. I mean, when's it going to end? When is it going to stop?
Jeff, when I was coming out to represent the people, the oppressed people, I knew what had happened to Kizza Besigye. I knew that many other people who even dared to speak out against Museveni, many of them are long buried. And many of them are suffering in incarceration. And yes, people like Dr. Kizza Besigye and other opposition leaders have had their fair share of brutalization. But I'm also convinced that oppressed people cannot be oppressed forever. President Museveni was once not in power and he was speaking exactly like I speak. And President Obote always dismissed him. Obote is not president anymore. I believe there is going to be a time when Museveni is not president anymore. I am convinced that we are so many people that think alike. We are so many people that have resolved to get their freedom, and that is what we want, and we're not going to settle for anything less. So regardless of the fear, regardless of the brutalization, we are not going to relent.
Good point. Look, you were talking about your treason trial a short while ago, and you can't talk too much about it because you're still going on. But I understand it's a form of a court-martial, yet you are a civilian. How does that work?
In Uganda, it works.
Babu, is this the Stone Ages we're talking about here? I mean, it's like a bygone era.
I think that was too sad, Jeff, because as a president, you need not treat a youth like that. You need not take him to a court-martial, for that matter, or incarcerate him in a military base. It's not worth it, because what is the young man doing that is wrong? And if you think that whatever he's doing is wrong, do you go to that extreme, of which whatever he's doing is in tandem with what the people of Uganda wants? Now, by the end of the day, I think the president was too much. And you know, generally, even the law of Uganda states clearly that you are presumed innocent until proven guilty. Now, he was being treated as if he is already guilty. Now they want to find his innocence. We are using the common law system where we should, we are innocent until proven guilty. Therefore, my prayer, my request still to the President, Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, the way people loved you to put you in power, at times you say that you got into power by bullet, but by the end of the day, without the will of the people, you would have not gotten to that extent. Kindly do them good.
By the way, Bobby, Babu here used to abuse the president all the time.
I know this guy.
Now they're best of friends.
Yeah.
Do you see the day when you and YK Museveni will be friends?
Sure, I want to be friends with President Museveni, especially if he respects the will of Ugandans. You know, I'm just one of the more than 40 million Ugandans. And yes, he's just one of the more than 40 million Ugandans. So there's nothing personal between me and President Museveni. I've already told you I have respect for him as a father, in fact, as a grandfather, you know. But again, he should know that me and him are equal before and under the law.
Good point. We're going to take a break, come back. By the way, how old is President Museveni? About 71, 72?
About 76.
Hello.
Yeah.
And they just scrapped age limits.
Yeah.
How old are you?
36.
Something's wrong with this picture. We're going to take a break, come back. We'll get your tweets and responses. Keep tweeting at Koinange Jeff, at Citizen TV Kenya. Hashtag, as always, is JKLive. I tell you, this show, these young leaders of tomorrow, watch this space. Jeff Koinange Live takes a break. We'll be back in a moment. By the way, JKLive is sponsored and powered by Telkom. Telkom, moving with you.
You're watching JKL.
Young parliamentarians. And those of you who have been reading about Bobi Wine in Uganda and what's happening there, it's so tragic that young people here can't even express themselves, let alone be young. It is tough. And Bobi Wine here, by the way, I understand, Bobby, is it true that without so much as saying it, you can't do an interview like this in your own country?
Yeah, it's hard. People who host me get intimidated. You know, the government doesn't come out to announce that they're officially banning me from being hosted on radio, TV stations, but they intimidate whoever tries to host me. You know, whoever hosts me is treated like a rebel.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
So let's say they advertised, like we were doing it this afternoon, that Bobi Wine was coming on their show. Would that be cancelled by evening if it was a live show? Would it be cancelled?
Most probably.
Goodness.
Yeah.
I read somewhere you had a concert, or you have an upcoming concert on the 20th of October.
Yeah.
And then a message came after that saying it's been cancelled.
Well, the police has not officially announced that they're cancelling the show, because we fulfilled all the requirements. I wrote to the police, and we paid for the stadium, and we advertised, but it's from various sources, and the police is silent about that. They don't want to. It's more of a method of demobilization before they.
Do you plan to have that concert?
I am going to have that concert.
On the 20th?
On the 20th in Nambole Stadium. I'm going to be there. And I'm actually inviting Kenyan brothers and sisters as well to come. I mean, we got to do this. Yeah.
Babu, you going to go?
I think I should be going.
You should be there, man.
Museveni already, the Speaker of the National Assembly in Uganda sent a letter to our Speaker.
Yeah.
And one of the things they were saying that I should be punished for fighting Museveni. And again, from my sources, I got information that Museveni is saying that I'm banned from stepping in Uganda. But I will step there. There's no problem about that, because it is what it is.
Illegal.
Whatever will be, will be.
Yeah.
Yes.
You're going to go Kiumane?
I'll not be the first person to die.
Look at that. Look at that.
Yes.
I wonder if I'll be allowed back in Kampala.
And you're also here.
Oh, well. Do you fear for your life, Bobby?
What can I say?
You have a young family.
Yeah, for now, there's nothing more to fear. I always feared for the worst. The worst has already happened. So there's nothing anymore to fear. But to be very honest with you, I'm a human being, and many times I fear for my life, man. I love my children. I want to see them grow up. I want to see them graduate. I want to see them get married. I love my wife. I got a young family. And every day they fear for the worst. Every day I fear for the worst too. But again, I fear growing old in a messed up country even more than dying. Yeah.
And the worst part is living with the fact that that phone call could come to your wife one of these days. That phone call that we all fear.
Yeah.
Does she caution you? Does your wife tell you, listen, honey, is this worth it?
Well, my wife knows that it's worth it because we are actually living a meaningless life. You know, it doesn't matter how much money you get. It doesn't matter how popular you get. If your people are not free, you are not free. Jeff, I come from the ghetto. You know, even though the common people raised me and gave me the opportunity to be in the studio talking to you right now, many of them are still stuck there. And they look at me as the only option of having their voice out there. So when I speak, and I'm not speaking for me, I'm speaking for the many people there, the millions and millions of people. Last time I was telling my children, when they ask me why I'm always gone and why I'm never with them, I told them, you're my babies. But there are millions of children that also look at me as a father that need me, and I've got to be there for them, especially when I still can, because I know this is just a blessing that came to me to be able to speak for them, and I know many other people are coming after me. So I need to inspire them to the right direction so that when they come up in many numbers, they can be able to follow the right path.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And you know, you have a 3-year-old, and obviously they see you a lot in the news.
Yeah.
When you came home after those injuries, after that horrific beating you got, did they ask, you know, who beat you up, Daddy? I mean, what happened?
Well, their mother tried to hide the bad news from them, but at school, they got to know everything. So when my daughter saw me, they just broke down and cried and came and hugged me, asked me if I was okay, asked me if the policemen are going to come and beat me again. You know, it was sad. It's always sad. It's not a very good experience. Yeah. But what to do? I gotta do what I gotta do.
I guess the bottom line, Bobby, is all this worth it? Is it worth it, what you go through, what your family goes through? Is it worth it?
Jeff, it's not about my family. What other countrymen and countrywomen are going through is much worse than me. It's much worse than my family. This is Bobi Wine's family, okay? Much as we still face the oppression, at least a courtesy of those poor people that come together one by one to make the millions that support me through my endeavors, through my businesses, and through my music, that have helped me escape extreme poverty. So what they go through is much worse than what I go through, you know. All I can do is to speak for them. That's a little I can do, and I want to do it for as long as I can do it. And you know what? It is so worth it. Yeah.
Babu, is this situation gonna end in an ugly way, Uganda in general? Will it be ugly?
Whichever way it ends, Jeff, there has to be a change. And you know, change does not come easy. There has to be a struggle. Whenever there is a revolution, there must be struggle. And the tree of liberty, of freedom, is watered by the blood of our patriots. So by the end of the day, whatever Bobi Wine is doing, I support it 101%. If a situation is coming up in Kenya, I will be the first person to be at the forefront to fight for the interest of Kenyans. Remember, we have a responsibility, and we have the responsibility to lead. We have the responsibility to provide solutions. We have the responsibility to work for the people who put us in these positions. And remember, Jeff, during the Nazi war in Germany, when the oppressed went for the oppressors, they went for the Samaritans. The people said, we are not Samaritans. So all the Samaritans were killed and they were left. Then they went for the trade unionists. They killed all the trade unionists. The people said, some of the people said, we are not trade unionists, and they were left. Then they went for the priests. They killed all the priests. Meanwhile, people were still saying that we are not priests, so they were left. Then finally they came for them. There was nobody left to defend them, and they were all destroyed. My advice to the young, to this nation, women, men, and the youth, let us get united. Remember, you woke up or you wake up very early in the morning to elect a leader. The sovereignty of a nation, the power of a nation is with the people. The people in power is stronger, the power of the people is stronger than the people in power. And when you elect these people, they should deliver. When you are united, you will never beg. Divided, you beg.
Absolutely. Yeah. Bobby, before the break, we'll talk about age limits in your country, and your parliament just scrapped age limits, meaning 76-year-old President Museveni can run for another term. Yeah. I mean, the parliament that you sit in, what is this? Are they toothless bulldogs, or what is it?
Well, it is sad that I sit in the same parliament, you know, the same parliament that, in my opinion, has been reduced to just a talk show, you know, and a rubber stamp for whatever the president wants. Yeah. Many of the colleague members of parliament, in the lobbies or corridors of parliament, they were, you know, being candid to me and to other members and telling us they didn't support that, but because they're scared. And yes, some of them just don't want to bite the hand that feeds them. They went against their people. The majority of the people of Uganda, surveys were carried and polls were made, and over 80% of the Ugandans wanted their constitution intact. People protested and demonstrated, but many were brutalized, killed, and yes, some of them are still in incarceration for protesting against the amendment of the constitution. Yeah. So even if it was against the will of the people, it was done anyway, and that actually was the reason why me, and together with some other young people in Uganda, came together and started the People Power Movement to make sure that the power of the people is reflected. You know, we don't bank on our parliamentarians alone or the politicians. No, we are calling upon the people of Uganda, particularly the young people, to stand up, to speak and be heard. And that's why we started the People Power Movement. Yeah.
Babu, aren't you grateful that in this country, Parliament can't just change the Constitution just like that? I mean, there's a referendum we're talking about right now, or talk of a referendum. But that has a long way to go still. These guys just did it overnight.
I think our referendum is being politicized because of different political interests. But if it were for the best interest of the Kenyans, then there should be a referendum. There should be a constitution that is changed. to cater for the interest of all the Kenyan citizens, a constitution that is going to serve the interest of the Kenyan citizens. But once it is politicized, it will be a different thing. Right now, as I speak, Jeff, it is quite shameful, and I will say it. It is shameful even with our parliament, because our parliament at times thinks that we pass, they are not taken into consideration. It is time for the parliament to come up. Remember that parliament is an independent body that should not and should never be intimidated even by the executive. Parliament should make its own decisions. I was surprised. Even a cabinet secretary who is just appointed. Remember, members of parliament are elected. Cabinet secretary who is just appointed is summoned by the parliamentary committees. Then he fails to come. What is he trying to tell parliamentarians? That you don't have the powers. While they are appointed and approved in parliament. Parliament has the authority to impeach them. Even the president, the parliament can impeach the president, and we go for another election. So by the end of the day, MPs must stand strong. It is time for us to get out of our political affiliations. Let us be related with our party ideologies, but let us not use the same ideologies to oppress Kenyan citizens. Let us use the same ideologies to help the Kenyan citizens. Therefore, parliamentarians should be independent and should make decisions that is going to impact positively in the lives of the Kenyans.
Bobby, a lot of people are asking, do you have security when you're traveling around? Do you have security?
Well, God is my security, and the common people are my security. I mean, I cannot have security that is as well equipped as our military. In Uganda, when you speak up against Museveni, you're up against the Uganda People's Defense Forces, you're up against Uganda Police, you're up against Bank of Uganda, you're up against all institutions, because he got all the institutions in his pocket. So there's no need for me to pretend that I'm being protected, and yet I'm surrounded everywhere. So I just do it my way, the ghetto way. Yeah.
Do you miss your music? Do you miss those days?
Yes, Jeff, I miss my old self. I miss my freedom, but it was illusional. You know, I don't regret any decision that I took, because whatever I decided because it was a calling. It was not about me, you know. So much as I miss my old self, I still know that I can be able to sing, although I cannot have as much freedom and privacy like I used to. Yeah.
Babu, I mean, I keep listening to Bobby here, and it's like we're in a different planet, huh? Honestly, it's like we're on a different planet, and it's right next door.
I think Uganda is too extreme. Even Kenya, we have issues like extrajudicial killings. We have other issues of oppressing the Kenyan citizens.
Yeah, but maybe we're a lot better off in many ways.
I think theirs is more, you know Museveni, Machiavelli was advising that if you greet your enemy, then you better greet your enemy with a velvet, with metallic fist covered with a velvet glove, so that your enemy is just seeing that the prettiness of the glove, but inside you squeeze the hands of your enemy. But him is doing it bare fist. There is no velvet glove. So by the end of the day, what I would love to advise Bobi Wine and other young parliamentarians in Uganda is that fight on. Do not give up. Even if it means that it leads to death, fight on. By the end of the day, the people of Uganda will be free.
It's easy for you to say. I mean, you're sitting in your comfort here in Nairobi.
But you see, you saw what I did. When I'm fighting for the ideologies that I believe in, I go extreme.
Yeah.
I go extreme and nobody can tell me no. Because that is what I believe in.
Yes.
Yes.
Bobby, there's a lot of people are asking this question. Do you want to be president? And if so, what kind of president would you be?
I think we should answer the second part of the question and edit it further and say, what kind of president do we want? We want a servant leader, not a boss leader. Okay? And again, it doesn't have to be about the presidency. No. Uganda is full of more than 40 million people, and each of those people can play a role if they are well led. It doesn't matter, like my brother Babu said, it doesn't matter who is president, for as long as the institutions are dead the way they are now, it will not make any difference. So before we even think of presidency, let's give power to the people to choose and unchoose that president. That's the only way the presidency will make sense.
You still didn't answer my question. Do you want to be president?
I think that's, again, a diversional question, especially with the struggle that we are involved in back home.
He's already a ghetto president.
Yeah.
He's already a president.
You know, I'm already a ghetto president. You know, we don't want to reduce that to individuals. We don't want to reduce that to who wants to be president. No, we all want to be free as the people of Uganda. And before we point on who wants to be president and who doesn't want to be president, I think we should first embrace our struggle as a whole. Jeff, we have believed in liberators before, and this is where liberators brought us. We don't need another liberator. And I tell my friends every day that I am not your liberator, yo. I'm just one of you. You know, don't look at me as another savior, because saviors or so-called saviors have gotten us here. They end up having that sense of entitlement. Oh, I saved you, so you got to listen to me. We don't believe in that. I know that I qualify like anybody else, but I'm not looking at me now. I'm looking at all of us. When we get to that, and the people are empowered enough, the people of Uganda will choose their president.
Very subtly put, but okay, I'll take that for an answer. Before we take a break, let me read a couple of tweets here. Robert Barale, he's actually watching you all the way from Atlanta, Georgia right now. He says, this man is a sure leader, brave and articulate, fearless. He's a new crop of African leader. God bless you.
Thank you.
Asmali Ahmed Mohammed, all the way in Easterly, he says, the term often used to describe young people who stand up to corrupt systems in Africa is young and rebellious, which is what we've been calling you guys, right?
Yeah.
He says, I'm not comfortable with that term. These guys are young, conscious, and agents of change. Great to see Bobi Wine articulating his vision on JKL. And Babu Owino, not too bad either. We're going to take a break, come back, and read more of these tweets, more reactions. I'm sure Uganda is watching. I'm sure President Museveni is watching.
He better be watching.
He better.
And watch this space.
And watch the space.
Jeff Koinange, hit like. Keep your tweets, questions, comments coming at Koinange Jeff at Citizen TV Kenya. Hashtag, as always, is JKLive. JKLive takes a break. We'll be back in a moment.
JKL brought to you by Telkom Enterprise.
Has been digitized. The most important thing to Dormans as a company is its stability. That is exactly what Telkom has delivered to us.